This is in the losers round number 3. It's a best of 7 between these two players, spawning in the bottom left of Oxide, our red Terran player, playing for Team Liquid. This is CLEM. And spawning in the top right, it's our blue Zerg player. Imagine still playing for Dragon Phoenix Gaming. This is Dark. So this ended up being some like really sick best of 7s going throughout the majority of this tournament. We had some good setups, lots of great players playing some outstanding games, and a lot of very memorable moments. And this series is one of those series that brought some extra excitement. Of course, Dark, known for being one of the stronger Korean Zergs, always known as the Foreigner Killer throughout the entirety of his career. He's known for being a rather bombastic player, bringing forward unique, interesting style of play. Going up against CLEM, who has really just exploded onto the scene over the past few years, making one of his first debuts in 2018, playing in the WCS circuit. I remember getting a chance to see him play at Austin in 2018. He made it to the round of 16 and immediately got escorted out. I believe it might have been by Hero Marine. I think it was a quick 3-0, but it was exciting to see a bright, young face entering the StarCraft scene. And Clem's been doing some really good things, most recently winning the Europe DreamHack Masters Summer Edition, and showing that he's got the skills to pay the bills in StarCraft right now. But he's going to have to work pretty hard to get over top of an opponent like Dark. But these two are going to square off here in this best of 7. Now, once again, this is a replay cast, so feel free to keep yourself spoiler-free. I will be casting this spoiler-free as well throughout the entirety of the cast, but you're always welcome to check out the results on Liquipedia. All of that information is readily available. Oh, gosh, Dark. Dark. Going for the early lair here. I mean, this is the kind of play that we've talked about with Dark. He's going to do everything he can to prevent this Reaper from getting the information that he needs. Obviously, if the Reaper's able to get in and scout and see this lair timing, that could provide him some very valuable information. But Dark is very known to do this. He will very quickly come up with an unorthodox build that might be seen as a bit of a flex over his opponent, showcasing maybe that he doesn't have the respect that he wants for his opponent. But it is going to be a Roach Warren down behind this. Now, I can only imagine this is going to be a really quick Nidus, so Queen's going to get brought into the equation. We'll have that Roach Warren, and there goes that Nidus network down at the natural expand. Dark has done a very, very good job of denying most of the scouting information here by CLEM, and CLEM has played very diligently. He's not overextending, trying to dive in to grab valuable information, but gosh, what he would get if he sacrificed 1 or 2 of those Hellions just to know exactly what's going to be coming here. That Nidus network just about done. Now, this could be a saving grace here for CLEM. CLEM is going into Cloak Banshee. I mean, that could be really good against the incoming Nidus play. It's just a matter of whether or not he's going to be able to rebound this back at home, because Banshee is already out on the map and the Nidus Worm has been planted down. Now, can he see this? No. CLEM has no idea this is coming. The Banshee is going to try and provide some coverage on the opposite side. Oh, those aliens are so close to finding information, but there it comes. Dark's going to come across the map here. Queens are going to unload out of that Nidus and immediately going to work on these production cycles. Picking off the Stim Pack would be incredibly damaging. All of the SCVs get pulled off of the line here. That Tech Lab is never going to be allowed to finish. That means Stim Pack is completely denied. Is Banshee Cloak going to be denied as well? No, that will be allowed to complete, but what's actually going to be able to work here? There's already an Overseer. There's enough Queens to really deal damage. The follow-up on the Nidus network here is very good, but it comes at the cost of 18 workers, and Dark can continue to push further and further into this mess. Unfortunately, CLEM, I think, is going to have to tap out here. Dark has done enough. He's laid down enough creep. The queens and the roaches still have enough to push this forward. One bunker to save them all, and it's going to get tapped down. CLEM with a very, very good hold, but it's just not enough. Dark's going to be able to secure game number 1 and kick this series off with a bang. Map number 2 already underway. Dark showcasing that really quick playstyle in game number 1, and it seems like it could possibly be a standard build here, going up to 17 workers for Dark. I mean, Clem's going to have to find ways to really stay aggressive on his opponent. Dark is very well known for being an aggressive player, able to maneuver through multiple different avenues. And it seems like Dark is already going to choose a bit of a more unorthodox build here in game number 2. Oh, of course, Beckett Industries is a smaller map in the pool. Easier to get units over very, very quickly, but dropping that spawning pool before the hatchery, it's not anything super crazy aggressive. So it's not a 13-12. It's not a 12 pool in general. It is just a 17 gas, 16 pool. But that's still going to put units over on the opposite side of the map a little bit faster for Dark. Now, where this could come into play is a couple of different things. If this Reaper manages to get across the map without encountering any of those Zerglings that will be coming across, I think that will end up being a very, very strong timing for Dark, because Dark's going to be able to get a lot of good work done down on the natural before anything is allowed to really take shape for Clem. But Clem, doing his diligence, he's getting the worker out across the map right away. He's going to see that the timing is a little bit strange, but it feels as if right now Dark is just playing passive. Was the 17-16 more defensive than anything? He's not really building any lings in the production tab right now. Spawning pool's going to go down. Was he worried? Was he worried about a proxy 2-Rex? He must have been. So yeah, this Reaper is just going to find the one singular Zergling and not a whole lot else. Good queen placement, though. It's going to keep that Reaper at bay. Can't hardly argue with that. That will finally get pushed off and back. This ends up looking a little bit more standard. Probably the most notable is the lack of a third base here for Dark. He is going to drone up. And the longer we go without that third base, the clearer it becomes that Dark wants to remain aggressive. We're gonna have to see what he ends up deciding. On the opposite side of the map here for Clem, so standard 1-1-1. And Clem's done a really good job. I mean, in game number 1, he played very passively, did not want to overcommit to getting good scouting information, and it feels like on this game, Clem has atoned for his sins, and he's doing a much better job. Now we do finally see the third base hatchery going down, but again, very, very late. Great block with those queens, not allowing the Hellions to get in. The Hellions are still going to be able to zoom around. They will spot the timing of that third. And if you're Clem, what seems to be the build order here? He does want to go into Cloak Banshees once again, which once again does offer him some good aggressive momentum. There's going to be a lair for Dark coming in. Very possible for another timing attack with roaches. But Dark has a really good grip of what he's looking at here. He hasn't had any opportunity to dive into the main base just yet, but anticipating the incoming Banshees is going to throw down those spore crawlers in those mineral lines, which is going to aid in that defense. Hellions will still be a bit of a threat, but Dark is just playing very, very cautiously. We are going to see that Banshee start going to work in the third base, but as it rotates over to the natural, it's not going to find the engagement that it's looking for. Good Spore Crawler positioning already on site. Taking advantage of a little bit of the vulnerability in that third base for just a brief amount of time, picks off a couple of workers, but Dark is just going to run down the Nidus network build once again. Clem is going to spot it this time around. He gets a chance to click on it. Those Hellions are rather low. They are going to get all the way cleaned up, but that was valuable information here that is hard to quantify. If we take a look at that battle report, I mean, it's an even trade on the resources, but hopefully it's going to be the information that is the more valuable set of accomplishments there. Now, the Banshees are going to continue to provide some harassment, and that is going to be one of Clem's saving graces if he can hold on to this, but this wall is going to have to be fortified some way, somehow. And if you're Clem, where do you try to do that from? There is a tank out. At least there was a tank out. Where is that tank going to be located? It is going to roll down here, going to try and pull down that front wall. Now the Banshees are going to be able to help engage onto that Nidus network. The Nidus is actually just not going to go down. This is a good defense here so far by Clem. Utilizing that scouting information that he got, he trades a little bit inefficiently on units, but is able to help in that defense. And as long as Dark is unable to capitalize on the forward aggression in this engagement, Clem's going to be able to capitalize on his own side. He's going to get his third situated. This is going to get scouted almost immediately. So Lings will put a little bit of pressure onto this. Yeah, but all that has to do is just float for now. It is going to be a Baneling nest back behind this. A double evolution chamber coming down as well. Those Lings already back home. Just illustrating how small this map is on Beckett Industries. So Clem hasn't really gotten a whole lot accomplished here. He's both played rather passively. Getting a good stop on the scout with the Nidus is very, very important, but now the follow-up engagement here is going to be very, very crucial to see what Clem can actually get done in this game number 2. Marines are going to be able to put some pressure onto that Overlord, but their target is not going to be supplied. They really want to get some more work done, but look at this. A Nidus Worm going to come up here. This is the perfect way to proxy harass against a Terran player. You're just going to proxy him right back, but look at the queen count. There's so many queens here by Dark. 11 queens against a sizable force of Marines, but this is starting to become a scary situation. The cancel on the 4th, though, is really important here for Clem, and he also manages to shut down the Nidus pressure back at his 3rd base. So, able to cancel the 4th and push back your opponent. This is a wonderful position here for Clem as he continues to put pressure on to Dark. Those Banshees will continue to rotate around as well. And now Clem's going to be able to start working away on Dark's engagements here. But look at that speed! Oh, the Zerglings come zipping through that acceleration zone. Banshees are going to find some queens in a vulnerable position here. Oh, very, very close, but one of the Banshees is going to get picked off. And suddenly this is starting to look a little dicey here for Clem. Clem has an army count that is a little bit stronger numerically over Dark, but if we think about what Dark is actually working with, he's working with a lot of Ling Bane that's going to be having 1/1 supplies here in just a moment. He's going to be able to pick that up and drop that into the main base, but again, this is starting to feel a bit heavy-handed here for Clem. Clem needs to get some work done. He does take a leap in the supply count. Dark has not been able to find what he needs to just yet. A good Zergling scout. We'll see the incoming harassment here on the top side. Is Dark going to be able to react to it, though? I think he saw it. I think he's waiting for it to really reveal itself. But Clem is able to put down a lot of damage here. Killing off those queens is really, really important. Even losing a couple of those Marines, totally fine. Picking off more queens is unacceptable, though. Dark can't afford to lose that many queens. He's already so far behind here. If we look at that income advantage, the income is very cleanly in Clem's favor alongside that army count, and Dark just has nothing to do. I mean, this is just an overwhelming amount of units. But what does Clem have baked up here? He's gonna have mines. Oh, mines, tanks. He has everything that you could possibly want to try and deal good damage against Ling Bane. And Dark is kind of in a rough position here. Clem effectively maxed out. This is going to be a big push potential moment here. Tanks on the far back side of the creep, getting a ton of great engagements here on that choke. Finally, all of those things are going to be able to push on forward, but the mines are going to try and find as much damage as possible. Those tanks are going to fall. But look at the supplies, 160 to 115. Clem continues to rescue a good chunk of his bio. A couple of those Banshees go down, but that's just a very, very small price to pay, as Clem's going to be able to punish Dark on the backside. And Clem evens up the series 1-1 with some very good control and a little bit of good scouting. So all evened up here. Game number 3 going to be taking place on Blackburn. And Dark has decided to do a true standard macro build, for sure. Taking the opportunity to come out to a standard opening on a map that is rather Terran favored as well. Although I think there's a little bit of discourse happening about that. I think at the very beginning of this new map pool, I think Blackburn was very Terran favored. We saw a lot of very strong Terran mechanics happening on this map. But I do firmly believe that as time has gone along, I think we've seen more and more positive outcomes for Zerg players, as Zerg players have finally been able to take advantage of the gold base. We've seen some really interesting interactions here on the southern base as well. Lots of very, very good things taking place that make it very, very advantageous for Zerg players who maybe want to spread out, want to do a lot of run bys, have good avenues to get some harassment done. All starting to come together here for Blackburn. Now, Clem going to take a very early third command center. I mean, especially on this map, it's difficult to punish a Terran player who gets into a rather early third base. I mean, this ramp is pretty defensible. Even having the short rush distance with air units, I mean, what air units are going to be able to get across the map this quick? Overlords are going to be just about it, and that's just going to be for scouting information alone, so... This Reaper finding a decent amount of harassment and scouting information. We'll see the timing of that third base going down. But back behind this for Clem is just going to be a standard bio play in order. So already working on his stim pack, booting up a bit of a nice situation for good bio play. I mean, that's like perfectly placed. This cast brought to you by Alpha. Nice little piece of advertising there. Thank you, Clem. Of course, he totally did that on purpose. All right, so seems like our blue Zerg is maybe placing a little bit more respect into the hands of Clem, who absolutely deserves it, number one. I mean, Clem playing very, very good. And Clem's also forged in the fire of the great European Zerg players. I mean, he's having to square off against Serral on a regular basis, Raynor, Lambo. I mean, if there is one thing that a Terran player from Europe should excel at, it should be TVZ. Double Evolution Chamber coming down here at the backside for Dark. will be +1 melee. I imagine we're going to see +1 carapace rather soon here. There it does go down. A little bit out of sync, but not a major issue for sure. Clem is now just going to get that third base out onto that forward location. So a bit of an interesting choice. Most times we see that third base come down here on the 9 o'clock position, but instead Clem going to opt for that forward location. Gives him the opportunity to be able to siege up this spot. This is actually a pretty decent position to try and hold if you're a Terran player. So this will be a rather standard timing for Clem. Should be able to get on top of this fourth base location and actually has a really nice wedge. Should be able to stem backwards into that gap. Look at that nice little position that he's created here. Now, Dark not going to be outshined here by Clem. Has plenty of queens. Will continue working on his creep. Is doing a good anti-buyout situation, grabbing that Baneling nest. And going into some good old-fashioned ZVT. Might even see a Spire come down here as a macro hatchery is going to go down in the main base as well. So we will be seeing plenty of Zerglings and Banelings in this matchup. It'll just be some good old-fashioned control back and forth. Now, the queens do need to be careful. They are going to try and flex back and forth here as they push creep. Dark is going to always have to keep an eye on this gold mineral line. One thing that's nice about this gold base is that, well, I mean, it's a gold base. You can take full advantage of it, but it will always be siegeable from behind here. Zerglings and Banelings will get a nice little surround, but the bio will be up and away, and Clem has more on the way behind all of this. There is an armory coming down as well at 1-1 infantry weapons and armor, also starting to work its way forward on top of everything. And the creep collection will begin. Just trying to keep his opponent composed and contained on the map. Dark is going to be waiting for those centrifugal hooks to get finished up here. They are on the way to 2 melee and carapace en route as well. Surprising not to see any Spire just yet, but we've also seen plenty of this out of the Korean Zerg players where they'll just play Lingbane. They'll take their melee upgrades, their carapace upgrades. They'll work up to a hive, throw in some ultras, maybe get into a little bit of Spire tech if the need arises. And they'll just supplement it all with queens. And that seems to work rather well. And as of right now, I mean, Dark's doing a really good job of holding this back. These tanks aren't able to get too far forward. The creep spread's still pretty good. Are those Lings going to head up to try and defend this fourth base? No, it doesn't look like it. It seems like he wants to send this across the map, but it is going to get caught out by this force here. Will those mines be able to do some work? They will. They do force a couple of Banelings to ignite, but what is going to be back here at home to really stop this from happening? Banelings are going to try and find all of these exposed workers. A few are going to go down. The Lings are going to be able to wrap those up, but here come reinforcing Banelings. Oh my gosh, 29, 30 workers. Workers being killed off in the natural. Workers being killed off at the third base location. There is so much chaos happening here, but meanwhile, Clem trying to find some damage on the opposite side of the map, and he's not going to be able to make that happen. All of this gets picked up by reinforcing units, and Clem is working across with an army that is rather stemmed out. There are a few medevacs here, sure, that's going to be able to help, but look at how much damage is done, and look at how little energy some of those actually have. So this is a doom drop per se, but I don't know who's going to be feeling more doom, whether it's Clem or Dark. Now both players are going to try and trade out a little bit more damage here. Good mine coverage, trying to mitigate some of the damage there, but workers will end up falling at that third base location. Meanwhile, Clem is on the attack in a couple of different spots here in the top right and in the main of Dark. This third base finally has to get picked up. The factory actually getting picked up rather late here. I think that it's possible that this might just get picked away. Baneling's trying to find some extra damage here. The factory does end up going down, and Clem is in a bit of a rough situation. If we take a look at the damage report here, Lings are still getting more and more damage done. How did those Lings manage to get in? It's 20 workers. Continued damage coming down here. And what is Clem able to find on the opposite side of the map? He's not really getting that much. He's stopped the mining at that fourth base location for Dark. But Clem is really in a bad situation here. If we take a look at the resources lost, it's just looking worse and worse for Clem. And right now, there is just not much to stop the onslaught here by Dark. Dark is able to continue flooding Lings. These Banelings are going to be able to get a lot of damage done onto the wall. That's going to leave things wide open, and these Zerglings will come piling on in, trying to mitigate as much damage as possible from these mines. But I think these Lings are going to get a fair amount before they get cleaned off. Clem, though, doing what he needs to stay alive. This force on the opposite side of the map, trying to get some follow-up damage. This tank should get picked up last second. Oh, good directional by Dark. Whew. So, I mean, that just kind of went sideways for both of our players. Clem, third and fourth base, gone. Dark, fifth base, was worked away. But he did manage to hold on to enough of the workers at his gold mineral line that he can keep utilizing those. Clem, though, in a really commanding position. He has 83 army supply to the 52 of Dark, and Dark's army is mostly in Lings and Banes. As long as Dark is allowed to be overwhelming to his opponent, he'll get a lot done. But in this case, he is running out of steam, and he's running out of steam rather quickly. Starting to run low on his gas count as well. It's a Liberator transition incoming for Clem on top of it. 3-3 on the way. This is all looking a little scary here for our Korean Zerg player. Clem's going to be able to find some more damage here. He's got those mines. Widow mines! Getting on top of most of the Lings there. Finding a decent wraparound, but ultimately the mines do get picked up and take off as well. All right. Tank's going to get some more damage. So we do have Hive Tech now down for Dark. There is a Viper. And the late game transition has begun. But again, have there even been alternative units for Dark? I think it's just been Ling Bane this whole time. Just an overwhelming amount of damage happening here. And we have to give it to Dark. He's done a really nice job of mitigating a lot of this damage with pulling back from mines, not allowing the units to just get works down for free. But holding on to this gold base is going to be really important. Zerglings, draw a lot of decent friendly fire here. That ended up working out really, really well. But I don't know that Dark's going to be able to reclaim this gold base location. Plenty of Zerglings moving out to deal more damage, but Clem is the opportunity of a lifetime to continue getting more damage accomplished. Dark does have 3-3 though, and 3-3 cannot be ignored or understated here. Dark able to clean up all of the damage there. That Baneling, finds its target. 15 workers have gone down on the whole of that, and it costs Dark his gold base. Finally, Vipers. Vipers have been brought in to the mix here. I think that is outside of, well, I guess if we include the Queen, 4 types of units. drone, lings, banes, queens, and vipers. I mean, obviously drones, but drones are kind of a gimme. Doesn't even have a choice whether or not he can build drones. He gets 12 for free. Oh, that was a huge amount of banes. Those banes ended up not connecting at all with anything. Liberator will end up finding some damage here, but good transfuses will keep that limited. If we look at the units lost tab, look at the inefficiencies here for Dark. Dark having lost almost 20,000 minerals to CLEM's 1,400. Or 14,000 rather, excuse me. There's our Ultralisk Cavern. Did get down and in place. Those are going to be able to soak up shots just a little bit better. Look at this, Marauders already on the rise. The 4th base location already on site as well. Widow Mines getting more and more damage done. Good pick and pull. Notice the lack of gas here. That 3rd base location doesn't have any gas. The 4th base location doesn't have any gas. He's out, or he's done mining gas there at the main as well. So it's not a lot of gas income, but when you're building primarily Marines, it doesn't really require a whole lot of gas. Finally, we now do see a 5th base go down at the 9 o'clock position. Dark trying to find a way to overwhelm his opponent one last time, utilizing the Ultras as a means of getting some extended damage done. But these mines have just gotten so much value. Chitinous plating just about finished up. That's going to give those Ultras just a little bit more oomph, making them 5-3. I think Dark is just going to ignore CLEM almost altogether. Oh, the mines just continue to be difficult to deal with. Picking off the medevac is huge. That means that the potential for incoming damage in his main is just not existent. Every mine shot cleans off more and more of these Zerglings and evens up that supply just a little bit closer. Baneling's not going to find the connections that they need to. Some good blinding clouds, though, and a nice surround on these units on the high ground is going to shut this all down. And Dark, with some very careful micro and a lot of persistence, locks things up at game number 3 and moves forward in this best of 7, 2-1. Map number 4 takes us to Juggernaut here in this best of 7. CLEM showing some decent play in his 3rd game here, but Dark just was able to constantly overwhelm his opponent. Finding a lot of different attack paths on Blackburn, making this a really, really good position for Dark to extend his lead just a tiny bit. But Juggernaut is going to find a lot of the same sort of opportunity here. It does seem like Dark is just going to open rather standard. Putting his Overlord in a nice spot. We're seeing a lot of Zerg players do this right now, where they run out by the 3rd base location just to see if there was a proxy rack situation. It seems like CLEM is not ready to dig into the well of filth just yet. CLEM is also going to open up rather standard once again here in game number 4. Finding a little bit of harassment here with this Reaper. Picking off one of those units. What did he grab? He grabbed a Zergling. Zergling's not that scary. So map number 4 will provide us with some from new perspective here. I feel as if the longer the game goes on, it does lean into Clem's disadvantage. I think Dark is just going to have a very strong ability to juggle his units all the way through the early, mid, and late portions of the game. But, I mean, Clem's not really a slouch either. Bringing himself some good games, some longer series as well. Now, this Overlord is going to try and get some scouting information. He just manages to see the barracks. But, yeah, I was going to say, he can't be happy with that kind of scout. Is going to see the timing of the tech lab, but CLEM might be pulling a little bit of a bait and switch. Not really showing any Marines at this point, and it's going to be concussive shell Marauders. So if this manages to get across the map, that would be a great little surprise attack here for our red Terran player. Admittedly, though, Dark goes into a similar build that he did in game number 4, where it was just largely Lings and Banes. The overwhelming amount of Marauders won't be a major selling point here. I mean, Zerglings were always going to out DPS Marauders. Even with good Hellion coverage, those Lings can be rather overwhelming, especially when used with a good amount of Banelings and Queen coverage. But Dark putting his pedal to the metal, getting those additional drones, really working hard to get his economy up and running. But it's CLEM that's going to be coming across the map here with a decent amount of harassment. Now, we will see those concussive shell Marauders coming on in here, and that's going to make the Queens very, very difficult to defend with. Immediately, all of these Queens do have to get pulled back and away. Hellbat as well. It was an armory timing. This is a scary situation here for Dark, but he's doing a great job of microing this back and away, not losing too much in the way of high-value units. Those Banelings trying to find some good damage. Will manage to clean up a little bit more, but all the Queens have been dealt with. Some great splits by those Hellbats, not allowing that to get any further amounts of damage. The Baneling nest gets picked off. Dark is in a really dark spot right now. He has to try and overwhelm this force if he doesn't want to just get pushed over almost immediately. The biggest advantage, though, right now, Dark still has not had any major damage come in the way of economy, but that could quickly change here as drones are going to get pulled into the fight. Getting on top of those Hellbats is not going to be a pretty sight here. 8 of those workers do end up going down, and suddenly this is not looking as great for our blue Korean. He did a really nice job of holding things down and in place. If you take a look at that battle report, CLEM does come away with a sizable amount of minerals stolen from his opponent. And CLEM on the backside of this is able to get out to his third base. Oh, this is kind of a rough situation. CLEM, though, going to make the most of it, especially with the timing that he had. He should be able to continue putting on aggression, but he's got to be careful not to just throw stuff away back at home. A fair amount of Marines coming out will make sure that those Lings do not find the economic damage that they need to get Dark leapfrogged back into this game. But Dark's going to take that bottom right-hand corner. He's not down and out of it just yet. It was a very, very good advantage that he had so many of those workers already in place. So he was able to lose a few of those without having it cripple his economy. So if we take a look at that income advantage, he had a sizable economic advantage. And now CLEM, after that engagement, only equalizes it. Not really getting a whole lot above and beyond that. It's a nice little follow-up here. Once again, Good pre-splitting, keeping those units at bay. Oh, some good Baneling connections, but the bio on the backside is left unattended. 1-1 just about to finish up here for Clem, as he will be able to push with decent newfound energy, but Hydralisk Den is already down. We do see Hydras in production as well. Have we had any upgrades for those? No, not just yet. Our only upgrade right now is Speedlings. And Dark will be able to secure his 4th base and try and wrestle back a little bit of that economic advantage. But having Hydras alongside Ling and Bane will assist Dark with kind of tamping down Clem's ability to remain extra aggressive with those medevacs. We do see Dark rotating in here. Oh, the Widow Mine. Not going to find the damage. At least not at this point. Oh my gosh, those queens are going so far forward. That creep just goes on and on. What's Clem have going on here? He's got 2-2 on the way. Seems like a little bit of a... Oh, I'm not quite sure what that is doing. The rally is there. The workers just decided they're on their union break. What an even game right now. If we look at that units lost tab, Dark really has not lost that much more than his opponent. Oh, some friendly fire from it. That mine not going to find everything that it hoped for in this world, but right now those Hydras are still very slow. Still no Hydra upgrades. That is worth noting here. That means those Hydras are only ever going to be used defensively. Dark playing very careful and cautiously, not rallying units across the map, not trying to make a big mega push to knock down the red Terran player, but rather instead just playing very calmly, staying on creep, and allowing Clem to bring the fight to him. So far, it seems to be working out well. Now we do finally see muscular augments coming down for Dark. That's going to allow those Hydras to get a little bit more value. Going to be a lot faster. Here goes. Here goes that run by, and that is going to be a scary run by as well. Will this find a lot of damage? Oh my gosh, 25 of those Zerglings end up falling. So Clem able to hold on so far. His 4th base has been secured. The planetary fortress is in place. And a command center already plopped down as well. But Clem wants to continue working on this bottom right corner. He knows that that 4th base is lurking. If he can find a way to break this position of Dark, Tank's going to be on the high ground and offer a lot of extra support. Every Baneling that goes down to tanks is a huge win for Clem. Dark is running out of steam. He's backed Clem into a corner, but who's trapped with who? The bio here is doing a great amount of damage, and it's follow-up reinforcements rushing across the map here. These Hydras are not going to have enough, and Clem is going to even up the series once again. We're going to go to a game number 5. Both players even on game score, 2-2. Game number 5 takes us to Romanticide here. Both players have found some very, very good reaction and response to the aggressive play that they've been able to bring forward. Dark has found most of his aggression in this series, as he has found in many of his series in StarCraft, by just being overwhelming, executing a lot of very good micro and macro level play just to overwhelm his opponent. But Clem has come forward and said, you know, I think that I could just very easily hit you with a timing and not let you get out of control. And in both of Clem's wins, Clem's been able to execute that rather efficiently. So here in game number 5 on Romanticide, we'll have to see if Clem has what it takes to be able to knock this phenom Zerg player out of the sky. Now, Romanticide provides a little bit of interesting, maybe advantage is maybe not the right word, but it's a word to use for our Terran players. I mean, obviously there is the advantage of having this mineral wall right outside the third base location of your opponent. You can get a pretty decent siege locked in here. Put your bio on the inside of that wall and allow tanks to get a decent amount of work done. We've seen a lot of Zerg players actually just take advantage of the third base here right to the north of their natural, but Dark looks to be opting for the inside third base location. But I mean, this can be advantageous to the Zerg player as well, allowing him the opportunity to get a fair amount of creep down, be able to work his network just a little bit cleaner. And Dark's going to always have an opportunity to be able to move up the north side of his base count, being able to take this down rather quickly and efficiently if he wants to. But with that information, how is Clem going to react to that? He is getting a pretty standard bio timing right now, going for that stim pack opening. Dark gonna do a little bit of work here to try and get some scouting, but a Marine already has hit the ground, so that should be rather limited. Despite that, though, it is only one Marine. One Marine against an Overlord does take a decent amount of time to kill. Dark, though, wants to put on the pressure early here. He's coming in with a lot of Ling production here. He's got an additional 20-something Lings here. He's just going to push across the map. This is going to be an overwhelming force. What does Clem have on the opposite side of the map? He only has 4 Marines and a few Hellions, and some of the Hellions are already out on the map, and this is an overwhelming situation here. Will these workers be able to get rescued? I don't think so, but what a great situation here for Clem. He's been able to wedge all of his units onto that ramp. These Lings are not able to get as much work done as possible, and the Marine count is now going to be high enough that all of these aggressive units are not going to be able to get the damage done that they need to. But it's additional Ling production on the backside of this. No lair just yet, +1 melee incoming as well. Do we have a Baneling nest on the site? No, we do not. So it's just Lings at this point. Dark can find a lot of aggressive damage as a result of doing that, but he needs to find a way to make it count if he is. He's sacrificing a lot of time to get this in position, and admittedly, he needs to be able to see what's happening here. Clem going for his third base. Third base is already on site. And the more that Clem is going to be allowed to get his third base secured and saturated, that just means that the income advantage that Dark is trying to wrestle away from the Red Terran is only going to get worse and worse. And Clem is already coming across the map here with his bio timing. Dark going to try and capitalize on that, though, as he does get his Ling run by into that third base location. Now, with one tank wedged in, I'd say pretty well. That should be an okay spot. Now, will Clem be able to find any follow-up damage here? I don't think so. Yeah, he's just going to pick up and leave. But he does manage to get the scouting information that there is a 4th base down. Dark is not completely down and out in this engagement. He's not coming away with anything too major. Dark able to clean up a lot of those Lings for a rather low cost. Baneling Nest will finally start going down here for Dark, and we could possibly be seeing Dark going into his standard Ling Bane play once again. Yeah, here comes that macro hash. That is going to lead us into the 5 hatchery Lingbane style. And it's worked out rather well for him. I mean, on Blackburn, he was able to really lock down his opponent and create a lot of good damage. But CLEM, I think, has what he needs to knock this timing in with a kind of a counter timing of his own. And being able to get that third base down has been helpful. Will allow his economy to support additional production. He is getting that 1-1 researched as well. And this is where CLEM can shine. He's going to come out with those medevacs and start positioning them into a tighter spot to create more hazards. Dark actually taking a little bit of a supply block here, losing out on that Overlord. That's going to be quickly remedied. +2 melee attack is complete. +1 Carapace also done as well. Centrifugal Hook's about halfway completed. And CLEM now just begins the creep cleanup wagon. This is where CLEM is going to shine. He has some great multitasking. He's going to be able to drop up in this little tiny corner. One queen on the low ground is going to have to retreat back and away. CLEM not too concerned about it, though. He's putting his units in very advantageous positions to keep himself aggressive into this series. Ooh, we are going to get drilling claws now, so the transition into mines is going to be useful here. Now that CLEM has seen that it's mostly just going to be that Lingbane style out of Dark, he can start to prepare for it and add to his army composition to make this more and more doable. Units are going to start pouring across the map here. There are a few mines. Those Banelings not going to get connections the way that they wanted to, but these Banelings absolutely will, being able to spill on into that natural base location. CLEM able to start engaging on Dark's newly printed 5th base, but can CLEM find a way to deal with Dark back at home? There really isn't a whole lot happening here. I mean, this base is going to go down, and that's nice, but it comes at the cost of so many workers. 22 workers have gone down by Dark in this natural base location. CLEM in a really rough spot. He is not traded out effectively here, and these Lings are still needing to be dealt with. Oh my gosh, this orbital command getting so low. It isn't going to fall. All he would need to do is just lift it off, but the fact that he let that get as low as it did was very, very scary. So where CLEM does come away with a little bit of a gas advantage, Dark able to even things up, trading out a hatchery for a significant amount of workers. Okay, Liberator's going to try and pop into the main base, see what it can see. It is just going to get onto the third base location, though. All of those drones are going to get pulled almost immediately. So that Liberator will get cleaned up. Oh, it does pick off a queen, though. That is a fair bit of damage. Now, CLEM's 4th base already getting set in as well. Mines are not going to be making the connections they're looking for just yet. Dark going to try and take this forward base, and this is kind of in a unique location. 20 workers have gone down. 20 workers? Oh my gosh. These mines are getting so much work done. Dark is trying to stay aggressive against the army of CLEM, but is unable to mitigate the damage here by these mines. So 20 of those drones do end up going down. It's still a very strong position, though, for CLEM. How interesting. Despite the fact that Dark is a little bit ahead on supply, CLEM continues to battle back here. This base actually does get the cancel here. +1 missile just about to finish up. Hydras are going to be added into the mix alongside this Lingbane army. And I think that is going to help Dark maintain a little bit more defense against these medivacs. You're not going to really want to use those Hydras super aggressively, really just to putting them in advantageous positions to hold off the mine, not only the mines, but also the medivacs as well. Roaches end up being really good against mines because they're going to soak up a few more of those shots, but having those Hydras as an option to not only pick away at mines, but deflect incoming medivacs is a huge plus. On top of that, it allows Dark to make the transition into the Lurker tech path. Okay, more and more damage being dealt here as these units do continue to leapfrog back and forth. It's allowing CLEM the opportunity to try and position himself once again, looking to see if the base here at the Rich Vespine Geyser has been taken, and in fact has not. Dark has decided to go up the right side of the map once again. The Ghost Academy continuing to push out units as well, so having Ghosts to deal extra damage to the Lurkers, and what will eventually probably end up being Ultralists as well, as we do have a Hive Tech on the way. Lurkers are going to be coming in small supply. 6 to start will be a great position to play with, but this is an overwhelming amount of Zerg. All of these tanks are going to get cleaned up here. The Lings just continue to spill on forward, and there's a lot of very valuable units here that Dark is just gobbling up with all of these Zerglings. There are Banelings in amongst this mixture. They do not want to deviate just yet. They're looking to find their targets, and that is the underbelly of all of this deadly bio force. Lings are going to clean up more as well, and Dark finds himself in a great position here. Lurkers are going to get on top of this planetary fortress as well, and the planetary fortress is going to have to be evacuated. This is going to get picked off, and that is a devastating amount of damage here. 9 workers do end up getting cleaned up on top of it. Dark finally finding a decent amount of push potential here against his opponent and utilizing those Lurkers to make it happen. I mean, his opponent is on 3-3 bio. Just now picking up that vehicle plating +1, but really anchoring down the momentum here. If we look at that income advantage, it is a lot of Dark wrestling away control from CLEM, who is desperately wanting to continue to build things up here. Now, the base in the natural has been flown out to that 4th base location. So now we have a 4th base, we have a 5th base. The next planetary fortress is coming up. And Dark is just going to continue to take his side of the map. In fact, it looks like he would like it to secure this bottom left-hand corner as well. But CLEM is probably not going to allow that. This Lurker will find a little bit of damage, but not quite close enough. Seismic Spines hasn't been researched just yet. So that Lurker range is going to take just a little bit more time. This ends up allowing Dark to get himself maxed out. He's at 199 to 169. This Lurker still finding a decent amount of value, but it will end up getting cleaned up. CLEM has those Ghosts rotating out and around. Haven't really seen any major tech changes for Dark in the last little bit. Just going to stay on Lurker, Hydraling, Bane. He is adding in those Vipers as well, which will be useful for probably containing those medivacs. I mean, it's always good to get the pulls, but Ghosts might not be as spooky to deal with Blinding Clouds. Dark is looking in a very, very strong position here. We're at the 16-minute mark, and I mean, both players are playing rather confidently. I really do like these singular Lurker hit squads that keep pouring across the map. and dealing some damage in that lower left base. Oh, an overwhelming force here. This base was caught unaware. The tank not quite sieged up in time. Mine's finding a lot of value, though, but it's just so many Zerglings. Now, the problem, though, is that the Zerglings are not going to be able to get on top of those ghosts for very long. No Banelings or Lurkers able to get their way worked that far forward. So that does make it very difficult for Dark to get an engagement there. And suddenly, this is looking like a bit of a scary situation. CLEM takes a quick supply lead here, 108 to 78 on the army counts. And again, those ghosts are just so very, very important. They have a lot of damage potential. They have a great opportunity to deal tons of devastating damage to his opponent. The Dark's not going to let that go as quickly and quietly as possible here. Lings are going to be able to spill on into the fourth base. 15 of those workers do end up going down. The orbital command is going to burn, but I don't think it's going to burn down just yet. So I'm going to try and find a little bit of damage across the map, but not going to be nearly enough, especially not when you are losing 15 workers at a time. But even still, you look at that battle report, CLEM making the most of it, picking off a Viper. It's a decent amount of supply damage. Yeah, look at that ghost count. What is the ghost count at right now? 18. That's so many snipes. That's so many aggressive units. This base should finally get cleaned up. In fact, yeah, Dark is just abandoning it. He is taking Lings into a couple of different locations, doing a really nice job of spreading those Lings out. Will this planetary fortress be able to be killed? I think so. The base is not being rescued here. Workers are going down in droves as well. Those Banelings are going to try and find the worker line, and the Conga line has been dealt with. 31 workers and one base here going down. This orbital command is going to stay alive and relevant in the game. So Dark, CLEM trading base for base. It's very difficult to determine if CLEM is managing to mitigate as much as he needs to, but if you look at that income graph, it quickly moves into the favor of our Zerg players. More and more of those workers end up going down. 50 total! 50 in total, and it's just going to be more and more. Dark has been allowed to overwhelm his opponent. Oh my, CLEM. The snipe, or the ghosts, are just so strong. But it's been very, very strong micro. CLEM currently sitting on a very, very small worker count here. 28 workers to the 80 of Dark. This is a very dangerous situation, despite the fact that CLEM has done a very good job of keeping these high-value ghosts alive. It just is not a good situation to see if you are the Terran player. Dark able to hold on to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of his bases. CLEM is only now trying to re-secure a couple of his. So as it sits right now, how many bases does he even have mining? 1, 2, not even 2. He has 2 bases right now. Ooh, mines are a good comeback mechanic here. Is this going to find decent damage? Yeah, it will. It will find 6 workers. But 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, this is slowly sinking away here for our red Terran player. Picking off the base in the top right, though, is helpful, but it is going to come at the cost of all of those Marines. And I'd say most units right now are rather valuable. Every Marine counts in this late game. We're at the 21-minute mark, and CLEM, while down, does not appear to be completely out of it. Dark hopefully will have something to say about that if he gets his way. We do have the Infestor upgrade, so more than likely we will start seeing some Infestors added into the mix. None just yet. It's not super surprising, as the upgrade usually comes before any of the units because they'll benefit from that additional energy when they pop. But Dark has been able to really secure his side of the map. Okay, 3 more of those workers ended up going down to a little bit of a run by. Yeah, some decent snipes onto those lurkers, but it's a very limited amount of success here for Clem. Now, to Clem's credit, he's equalized the army count. Oh my gosh, look at all the pews. Look at him go. A little snip here, a little snip there. Oh, it's burrowed Zerglings. Very, very clever. Additional lurkers going to be brought in. Dark is maxed out here. Clem, though, has brought himself back. He's not completely covered on the economic front, but he has equalized it to some degree. The armies are mostly close together, keeping those valuable ghosts alive as long as humanly possible. Lings and Banelings are going to find 9 more worker kills. Neuroparasite on the way as well. What do we have for that infestor count? No infestors just yet, but it seems like infestors are going to be the final step here for Dark. Those lurkers are going to try and open up just a few more of those walls and make it easier for those Zerglings to cycle around in this map. So many units. Clem trying to take the top right, but the top right is unavailable. Please leave your name, number, and the time you called. And Dark will get back to you as soon as he's done ravaging your unit count. Well, this ends up being a really good position, getting those lurkers to wedge in there. More workers go down. The orbital command is going to fall as well. Those Banelings getting very close to ghosts. Oh, actually not getting as many ghosts as they could. 17 do go down. That's not an insignificant number. Are the Banelings just going to pop onto the base? Yes, it is. That planetary is going to go down. 40 more workers get cleaned up for the price of their lives. Look at that battle report. Oh, it's still even-ish. But Dark has the economy behind it. 87 to 19. Looking at that units tab, it does paint a very good picture for Dark. Dark is not that far behind the mineral count. I mean, if you're a Terran player, you want that number to be split as wide as it possibly can. Additional run-bys here, finding more and more damage. In fact, some of those Lings just burying themselves in the mineral lines. But this continues to be overwhelming for our Blue Zerg. And so much so that Clem just has to tap out. He doesn't have any more gas, and Dark puts himself on match point in this best of 7. 3-2. Game number 6 brings us into 2,000 atmospheres. Dark currently on match point over his opponent. Clem tried his hardest in game number 5 to limit the amount of damage that Dark could do, but unfortunately Dark was able to just overwhelm his opponent with the large map size of Romanticide. So Clem, on his final his final life in this best of 7 series, needs to find a way to capitalize on his opponent, but Dark has been a very tough nut to crack, as Dark has been able to manipulate the situation to work in his advantage and limit the amount of damage that he's been able to do. I mean, looking at those resources lost tabs in previous games have been a telling sight of what Dark has been able to do in this series so far, and that is a pillar of Dark's playstyle and his ability to make his units get the most bang for their buck. And now here in game number 6, Dark just needs to close things out one more time against his Red Terran opponent, or else CLEM will force it to a game number 7. So it does seem that CLEM is wanting to go for the earlier economic push here in game number 6, grabbing the very early 3rd command center. Once again, this is another map where it's very difficult to punish the Terran player for going this early command center route. But also, Dark has not been playing hyper aggressive either. He's been laying back, allowing his opponent to attack into him, and then slowly but surely just starts to overwhelm his opponent with constant run-bys and additional engagements that become very difficult to deal with over the course of time. Now, it does seem like CLEM is going to go into a Cloak Banshee. He's going to get that Viking first, and I don't hate that situation. The Viking's going to be able to clear out the Overlord coverage and save CLEM a little bit of the scouting information. These Hellions not finding a whole lot. But being able to limit the amount that Dark can see will be really, really crucial here. Now, it's a Roach Warren. Very, very quick here for Dark that will be able to move across the map with some potential ease. I think Clem's going to be able to spot this. He does end up seeing some of those Roaches with his forward Hellions. So now what do you do as Clem? You see that a Roach Warren is already secured. It doesn't appear that Dark wants to get super aggressive with them. He's going to move across with 2, but that is not going to make a very convincing push, all things considered. Especially not when a Banshee is already out and on site. Clem's going to be able to dive on in. He finds only queens. This Banshee will be able to clean up these Roaches in its entirety. So more than likely it'll just be a transition timing here for Dark. Dark's going to get that Glio Reconstitution, the Roach speed upgrade, and continue marching forward here. We are going to see the double evolution chamber as well. Roach Ravager Bane also is not a bad composition, especially against a Terran player like Clem. So seeing a Baneling Nest go down in the near future wouldn't be an outlandish thing to witness. Also, those Roaches are going to trade really, really well against those Hellions, which limits the amount of damage that Dark can possibly take. And it makes it a little bit easier to defend as well. Those Roaches are going to be a little bit more just a point and click. An F2A, if you will, versus the very, very delicate micro that would come along with Lingbane. Now, Banshees. Ooh, make this a bit more complicated. Those Cloak Banshees already have picked up 8 kills. The Hellions on the front side really haven't gotten any work done just yet. But continued damage here by Clem. 13 of those workers have gone down. Ling Run-By going to come out to that 3rd base location, though, and there is nothing here to protect these workers. So the Lings are going to try and wiggle their way on in. The units of Clem are going to be on the top side there. 5 have gone down so far. And Dark is able to strike back just a little bit, but look at the economy here, 72 to 58, despite the fact that Clem was able to take so many of those workers off the top here, and he killed 13, and Dark still has a 12 worker advantage. Very, very good set of scenarios here for our Zerg player. Now, one of those Banshees did get killed off, and that is going to be the end of its reign of terror. An infestation pit has already been secured, and infestors are on the way as well. I rather like this. This is going to be a little bit more of the micro-intensive style of play that Dark is more accustomed to. And it's a slightly different approach as well. I mean, not only is he giving himself some variety, but man, keeping it interesting for the viewers as well. Very, very good stuff. So some of those units are going to try and do some work in that third base location. In fact, Lings are going to be able to get into that third base as well. But look at this situation. This is a big engagement here for Clem. Clem's not going to be able to find a whole lot of resistance to this push, and he should just be able to shove down this base with relative ease. Now, he does clean up the aggression at that third base location as well. Will he continue to push? It seems like he absolutely will. Speedbanes add some additional variety to this attack. But all of a sudden, this is really looking like a rough situation for Dark. He's not trading this as effectively as he would like to. There were infestors. I'm surprised that those infestors haven't been used just yet. They are already there, but waiting for enough energy to really be of great value. A fourth base has already gone down for Dark. He is fighting a bit of a supply block right now, which makes a little bit of a tense transition for Dark, but Dark already has that hive in position. He's got those Vipers on the way, two melee and carapace incoming as well. And this is a moment here for Clem. Clem needs to find a way to stop his opponent from being super overwhelming, but now having those infestors, using those fungals, adds some great damage potential to Dark's army as those Banelings and Corrosive Biles will be able to add some good damage. Oh my gosh, he used every single bile in the book there. Needed about one, he got about 12. Okay, Adrenal Glands incoming as well. Clem trying to attack on multiple fronts. He does cancel off that fourth, now fifth base incoming, and needs to start finding ways to slow down his opponent. But again, he is struggling a little bit. Dark is able to continue growing. He's matching his opponent to tit for tat. The worker counts are almost even, which admittedly is scary for the Zerg player, but right now Dark is very focused on trying to eliminate his opponent's aggressive capabilities, and those fungal growths are just so painfully effective here against the red Terran player. This bio is so overstimmed. These medevacs have no energy as well. There's 5 medevacs, but no available healing, so that means this army is going to remain in the yellow and the orange. Another hit squad over on the left-hand side should be able to cancel this base once again, but it's the push on the right-hand side that will be the scary part here. Another cancel on that base, but it should be able to go down with relative ease once again. A very good parasitic bomb going down onto the medevacs. The medevacs don't really have a whole lot of value anyways, but the pressure to not let them hang around gets even more and more difficult. But this is starting to look very, very damaging for Clem here. He should be able to wedge himself in and use those Marines to his advantage, but it comes at the cost of 10 of those workers, and Corrosive Biles continue raining down. The barracks are falling. The supply depots are falling. Everything at this third base location is falling apart, and Clem is having a difficult time finding a way to deal with it, especially without a planetary fortress in tow. So now Dark is able to continue pushing forward. He keeps utilizing those wonderful, wonderful fungal growths. Tanks are going to get completely obliterated here, and now it's just bio medevac. Some tanks are coming in tow. wondering if that's even going to be enough. The Lings are going to be able to just push on forward. Biles will completely clean those up in due time. And now this third base is going to be under fire once again. The Baneling and Zergling control has been very, very confident here for our Zerg player. And the Ravagers are adding a lot of very good damage potential. So Ravager, Infestor, Ling, Bane. Oh no, one queen. So overall, Dark has done a really good job of maximizing the amount of damage that he possibly can get. He's trading out a lot of smaller, cheaper units in lieu of the more expensive units, and Dark dead even on the exchange. That is the best case scenario if you are a Zerg player. Ghosts are going to be helpful, but they are not going to be enough to deal with the overwhelming force here. Reinforcing Link should be able to help push this army down, but he might not even wait that long. Parasitic Bomb going to go down onto a couple of those medevacs, and we'll clean those off. Tanks are going to continue getting picked away at. Every tank that goes down is more and more damage that CLEM is going to have a difficult time dealing with. So as it sits right now, Clem's going to try and get out to his 5th base location. He's been struggling to anchor down the 3rd base, but he feels confident that the 5th base here on the right-hand side is going to be the direction that he wants to try and go. I mean, he is spending a lot of his time over here trying to secure this spot, but I mean, this is not nearly as established as it otherwise could be. We do have chitinous plating on the way, additional ultras being brought in as well, and I think this is going to be a slow death animation here for Clem, unless Clem can really anchor down a good engagement. He is spreading out his tanks to his credit, so it does make things a little bit more difficult, as Dark needs to be a bit more careful with his biles. He's not going to be as efficient if he has to bile in multiple locations at one time rather than just in the middle of a group of tanks. Dark's been doing a pretty good job of managing that micro so far. It would not be surprising to see him continue to make that happen as well. Some very good snipes though on those Ravagers. Ravagers are going to be an important force in this army. But Dark is on a very good base count right now. He has those bottom right-hand bases. Oh, it's going to be the Ultra run by on the top left here. Oh, the Lings are going to be able to come in with this as well. Oh, look at those workers. Those workers are just taking off. The Banelings are going to be attacking in multiple locations at one time. They're going to go directly for that worker count. 9 of those workers immediately go down, and the bases will go down as well. The Orbital Command did manage to lift up and away, but again, at the cost of so much damage here. 13 workers, and Clem continues to get whittled away. Look at Dark's bank here. Dark is managing to keep a strong amount in his bank. He's doing a good job with his macro. Meanwhile, Clem is digging at the bottom of the barrel. If we look at that income advantage, the income still jumping very far into the Zerg player's favor. Units lost tab once again. Dark almost dead even, really only losing out on a small amount here. It's just a testament to the amount of efficiency that Dark has been able to get in this game. And we have another engagement coming around here. The tank's not going to be effective against Ultra all by itself, and these Banelings are hunting. 4 worker kills, 11 more of those workers do go down. Kills on the opposite side as well, as Clem tries to split these workers up, but the Planetary Fortress will fall on the left, and the Orbital Command is in danger on the right. Oh, Bile is going to get a decent amount as well. The Orbital Command will be able to survive, but Clem is in a position where he almost needs to push and try and knock out his opponent. 97 to 87 is the army matchup, but these tanks are too far forward. They are going to siege up, and they are just going to get overwhelmed. The Zerg continues to pour on forward here as Dark is able to secure his losers round 3 victory over the Frenchman Clem. Dark advances forward 4-2 in this series. Very, very well played by both players.